If you're in the mood for something heartfelt and meaningful, these movies are well worth your time. Here are 10 movies that made me cry like a baby. Number 1. Living. This is a British historical drama from 2022 based on a screenplay by Kazuo Ishiguro, adapted from the 1952 movie Ikiru by Akira Kurosawa. In 1953 London, a civil servant caught up in the city's post-World War II recovery struggles with loneliness and a sense of emptiness. Faced with a life-altering challenge, he begins to search for meaning and fulfillment. I don't really know how I missed this movie when it came out, because I just watched it a few months ago and I found it heartbreaking. I couldn't stop crying for maybe half of the movie, and perhaps I was just in the exact right mood to feel like that, so it doesn't necessarily mean that you will be crying like a baby, but chances are. And it's so much deeper than you might think, maybe just looking at the trailer. And as soon as I watched it, I thought everybody should watch it, so I started posting about it on social media or something. The protagonist is a brilliant actor, and that helped for sure, but I also appreciated the way in which they used cinematography in Living. It was stunning. Maybe the technique or the overall feel of the movie, I don't really know, but I really liked it. Have you watched it? If not, please add it to your watch list. Number 2. Something the Lord Made. This is a biographical drama released in 2004 and based on a true story. In 1930s America, a gifted black lab assistant teams up with a renowned white surgeon to develop groundbreaking heart surgery techniques. As they make medical history, their work is shadowed by the racial inequality of the era. This is a dramatization of the life of the black cardiac pioneer Vivian Thomas, and I had never heard his story before watching the movie. I loved the acting by Alan Rickman and Mos Def. I was certainly feeling the story, the suffering, the challenges that they faced, especially Vivian Thomas. And this movie gave me so much to think about that I decided to post about it on social media and dig deeper after watching the movie, because I wanted to know more about this extraordinary life. And it's truly one of those inspiring lives that need to be shared and discussed and shown to people. It's the type of movie that I would show in a high school, for example, even though there are some scenes that maybe are not for everybody, because there's heart surgery involved, so there's that. But aside from those scenes, the story itself needs to be told, and people need to learn about it, absolutely. So let me know in the comments, first, if you've ever heard of Vivian Thomas, second, if you've watched the movie and what you think. I'm not entirely sure about its accuracy. I mean, it's still a dramatization, and even after watching it, when I checked the sources and I was digging deeper, it seemed to be quite close to the sources I could find, but it doesn't mean that it's true to the facts, and it's still somehow a retelling. But I truly appreciate this type of movie, and I wish they made more movies like this, specifically biographical dramas that can teach us something. Number 3, Out of Africa. This is an epic romantic drama released in 1985 and loosely based on the autobiographical book Out of Africa from 1937. In the early 20th century, a Danish baroness moves to colonial Kenya to start a new life managing a plantation. She becomes involved in a passionate love affair with a daring hunter as she navigates the challenges of her new life. This is probably the number 1 movie that comes to mind when I want to see something that takes place or is shot in Africa. In this case, we're talking about Kenya, and I love it despite all the issues that you can see in a movie that is made by white people in an African country, and yet it's still one of the best in the portrayal of certain customs or the daily life that Karen Blixen, in this case, used to live, or that white people owning a plantation used to live. And I remember reading the book, which doesn't happen that often. I watch way more movies than I read books nowadays. But I read this back in the day, I don't know, I was in high school or something, and it was truly inspiring to me. At the time, I had never been to Africa, and so everything related to Africa was like a dream, in the sense that it wasn't defined and that I had to rely on sources like this one to get a glimpse into the African life, or rather in this case, a white woman living in Africa. And one of my favorite authors was a photo reporter, so he traveled through Africa at the time in which most African countries were gaining their independence. And so he published books telling those stories, and I loved that. Whereas in Out of Africa, you see the perspective of someone who is integrating in one country specifically. This movie is a true classic for me. Besides, here we have Meryl Streep and Robert Redford starring. So, number 4, Never Let Me Go. This is a British dystopian romantic movie released in 2010 and based on Kazuo Ishiguro's 2005 novel of the same name. Kathy, Ruth, and Tommy grow up in a secluded English boarding school, unaware of the dark truth surrounding their lives. As they mature, their complex feelings for each other deepen while they slowly come to terms with the horrifying fate that awaits them. This movie was one of the most difficult ones for me to watch in general in the past, 5 years, because it was so harsh and terrifying and immensely sad that I felt as if I couldn't breathe while watching it and after watching it. It was beyond gut-wrenching for me. I never read the book, and I know it's quite popular, so I'm not entirely sure if the book is just as intense as an experience, but in a way I wish I had never watched Never Let Me Go. Maybe because when I watched it, let's just say that I was beyond depressed, and I have been suffering from depression ever since. Before watching the movie. But that certainly didn't help. And I do have to be careful when I choose what to watch. I need to be in the right mood. And I went into this thinking, well, I love dystopian movies, so I want to know what it is about. And so I would recommend this movie only if you are feeling well and if movies in general don't affect you that much. And so this is perfect if you simply want to cry, but it also carries pure desperation with it, so be careful. Number 5, P.S. I Love You. This is a romantic comedy released in 2007 and based on a 2004 novel of the same name. After losing her husband, a young widow is left to face overwhelming grief. To help her heal, her late husband had planned a series of steps to guide her forward. As she faces her grief, she finds the strength to start a new chapter in her life. I needed to put something a little bit lighter after that one, despite being about grief, because it's still a comedy, and I don't talk about romantic dramas that much on this channel, but this was one of the movies I watched countless times, maybe because it has to do with Ireland, and I'm slightly obsessed by Ireland in general. So every now and then I look for every single movie that is set or partly set in Ireland and go for it, regardless of the topic or the genre. But this one, I truly loved it because it manages to balance grief and laughter. In this movie, you will laugh as well. And you will see the characters find new ways to enjoy life. It's simple enough that you can watch it without too many expectations. It's not a masterpiece, but it's beautiful. And I love the actors in this one. I appreciate the comedy and even the romance. But I do cry every single time I watch it. Some honorable mentions here, which were kindly provided by people on Threads, and if you agree with them, please write it in the comments, but feel free to add your own. Number 6. Life is Beautiful. This is an Italian period comedy drama from 1997 and partially inspired by the book In the End I Beat Hitler and by Benigni's own family history. An Italian Jewish bookstore owner leads a joyful, imaginative life until his world is turned upside down when his family is deported to a concentration camp during World War II. In the midst of their hardship, he does his best to shield his son by pretending it's all part of a game. I don't think any Italian missed this one, because when it came out, I was in elementary school, and this was basically mandatory viewing. I think a bit later on, maybe in middle school, not entirely sure. But in the 90s and early 2000s, this was something that I think every single Italian had to watch or wanted to watch, because it was overwhelmingly popular, even abroad.
And the Oscar goes to Roberto!
And that's quite something for Italian cinema, which, in my humble opinion, it hasn't produced anything decent in I don't know how many years. Maybe this was one of the last good ones. And so, as Italians, we are quite proud of it. But it's certainly something difficult to watch, because despite seeing this father pretending like this is a whole game and we are just having fun here, we, the viewers, know the truth, right? And so Roberto Benigni has a really peculiar style. He has always been like that. He's a bit like Jim Carrey, but the Italian version. And he is also well known for his profound knowledge of Dante Alighieri. And so he's passionate about literature and arts and so many other things that make him an interesting person and an interesting actor.
Dante said, l'amor che muove il sole e le altre stelle, love will move the sun and the other star. Love is a divinity.
So without him, this movie would have not been the same. They would have never made it, probably. And I don't think I will ever have the courage to rewatch this movie. Perhaps because over time, I think I watched hundreds of movies that take place during World War II or even World War I. So not only war movies, but also dramas and stories about the Holocaust. And personally, I have seen with my own eyes some of these places. I've been to Buchenwald and Auschwitz, which are two huge concentration camps. I come from the only Italian city that had a concentration camp in disguise, because it wasn't called like that, but we can assume that's what they were doing. So I'm quite familiar with it. I'm not saying that I don't want to hear about it, but I think I know the topic well enough that I don't need to rewatch a movie like this one. If you have missed this movie, it's truly worth watching. It's gorgeous and terrible at the same time. Terrible in the sense of the awful things that you will see in it and that Jewish people, among others, had to live through. Number 7, Bridge to Terabithia. This is a fantasy drama released in 2007 and based on the 1977 novel of the same name. Jesse Aarons, training to be the fastest runner, is outpaced by newcomer Leslie Burke. Despite their differences, they form a strong friendship and create Terabithia, a whimsical world where they escape into their imaginations. If you have not watched the movie, I cannot tell you why it made me cry like a baby every single time I watched it. But if you know, you know. And I was obsessed by the soundtrack of this one back in the day when I first watched it. I found it magical and relatable enough that I could watch it over and over again, even though I was a little bit old for this movie when it came out. And I've never read the book, and I don't even know if it was that popular in Italy. I had never seen the book, but the movie was really good. And it would have made it into my traumatizing movie recommendations video if only it had been released before the 2000s. So at some point I could make another video about that topic, but for a different period, and this would certainly be there. Number 8, About Time. This is a romantic sci-fi comedy drama released in 2013. A father reveals to his son that the men in their family can travel through time. As the son navigates a romantic relationship, he learns to cherish the present and the people around him, finding new perspectives on love and life itself. This is wholesome but also heartbreaking, and I highly recommend you watch it when you need to remind yourself that there are things in life that should be appreciated, no matter how simple. You know, the simple joys. And this movie will make you think about how you should be spending your time. And I love it for so many reasons. This is, again, something that I watched multiple times. It's a kind of comfort movie for me. Because yes, it makes me cry, but it also gives a really positive message. I love the acting. I absolutely adore the cast. And I think the couple is a truly believable couple as well. There is such a good chemistry between them, in my opinion. But this is worth watching when you really need something to show you that life can be beautiful and can be experienced to the fullest. So maybe I should have watched this one after Never Let Me Go. Number 9, Bicentennial Man. This is a sci-fi comedy drama released in 1999 based on the 1992 novel The Positronic Man by Isaac Asimov and Robert Silverberg, which in turn is based on a novelette by Isaac Asimov from 1976, The Bicentennial Man. Richard Martin buys a household robot, which the family names Andrew. Over time, Andrew begins to show emotion and creativity, leading to a profound journey that challenges the boundaries between machine and human. Just as I said that Life is Beautiful would not have been the same without Roberto Benigni, I would say that without Robin Williams, this would have been completely different, and his range of emotions, or lack thereof, is truly amazing to watch. I'm a real sci-fi fan, so I love to see a sci-fi movie that has to do with robots, what it means to be human, and all those questions that we keep seeing in sci-fi and that I personally love to explore. But this is one of the most heartfelt and wholesome that I've seen. And if for some reason you missed it, it's truly worth watching even now, so many years after it was released. Number 10, The Fall. This is an adventure fantasy film released in 2006 and based on a 1981 Bulgarian movie. In 1920s Los Angeles, A hospitalized stuntman shares an epic tale of mythical heroes with a curious young girl. As his fragile mental state blends with her vivid imagination, the boundaries between reality and fantasy begin to dissolve. This is bizarre, and this is why I talked about this one recently in this video here. And I really appreciated some of the comments giving some insights into the movie and how it was made. So if you're curious, go and watch that. But I have to say I was sobbing for at least a third of the movie, and possibly the stunning cinematography contributed on top of the music and the storytelling. It really made me emotional on a different level compared to the others on this list. So if you have not watched The Fall, now it's available on Mubi. It used to be trickier to find until quite recently, but now you can watch it. So please check it out. Now I want to know which are the movies or even TV shows that made you sob and cry just like a baby. And now that you watched this, please check out the video on the screen. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you won't miss my upcoming recommendation videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.